welcome, welcome, welcome. Say hello, let me know who you are. Let's just settle. I've just come in from doing my morning farm tasks and I've got a little bit of a glow on, and it's probably a bit more glow than one really wants. So let's just take a moment to arrive here today. Let's take a breath in together. You know, that's my automatic thing to do whenever I'm feeling flustered and rushed. It helps me go from being to being back calm and centered back in my body. And it really works every time. So I have a few notes to help me stay on track, because my ADH brain goes all over the place and down rabbit holes. So I've learned if I'm looking down, I'm just checking my notes, okay, mostly. Now, we don't have to rush in here. That's what this space is all about. This channel is all about never needing to rush. It's always just, it's a place for you to come home to yourself, a place to calm, a place to quiet, a place where you won't find hustle culture. It's a place where you can just be you for a few minutes in the day. You don't need to catch up on anything right now, just land. It's a nice deep breath in. Let's do it again. Hand on your belly. You know, when we breathe into our belly, what we're actually doing, and if you've heard this, bear with me. When we breathe deep into our diaphragm, we trigger those receptors in our diaphragm that sends a message to the brain that says you're safe. Because when we are in fight or flight, we can't breathe deep into our diaphragm. So that immediately sends a message to the brain, and it's primordial. It's been one of the triggers between the nerve to brain, body to brain triggers for a long, long time, since before we lived in caves. So it's ancient. And when something is this ancient, it works whether we want it to or not. So whether we expect it to or not, whether we believe in it or not, it works. So we put a hand on our belly, and as we breathe in, we push our tummy out, our belly button out, away from our spine. And that gives the space for the diaphragm to fill, and you breathe in really deep into your tummy. And then as you keep on breathing, you expand your lungs out and out, all the way up. And then we hold for a moment at the top, because a natural breath always pauses at the top and the bottom. And then after you've paused for a moment at the top, we just let it out. And as you let it out, let your shoulders drop. Give them a shake if you need to. Wriggle your jaw. I know it looks really weird. I hate seeing it when I see it on the camera. But it helps release those muscles. And those muscles there, it's really interesting, because I learned with horses and dogs, if I put my finger right there on that muscle and just with very gentle pressure, it releases their anxiety. They soften and they relax and they feel less anxious. So when we do this, we're doing that as well. So that's another trigger I also do this when I'm in the dentist, by the way. I lie there like this with my mouth wide open, and I just touch those points. Because when your mouth is held wide open, those tighten, and that winds up your anxiety, which is why dentists are, we're so anxious at the dentist. But just being able to do that and breathe through it, deep into your belly, reduces the anxiety, helps you relax, and it's less painful. There you are. Who knew we were going to dentists? So here we go. Let's take this breath. Here we go. Breathe in, deep into your belly. and out. Sigh if you want to. Sometimes making that little sound is a wonderful little somatic trigger. Right, there's been a lot moving this week, apart from this, which is so different for me. It's like I've had long hair for so long. It's, the videos in 2020 have me with my hair this length, but I've been growing it. I've had one cut since Sue died. She's been gone for just over 3.5 years. You know, the boys. So I've had one cut since she died. So, and I only took about that much off. So it was a little bit longer than this. I took more off than I normally would because I wanted as much hair as I could for the wigs. So here we go. There has been a lot moving this week, not loudly, but really, really deep. It's been deep movement. And all of us sensitives, we can feel that in the field. We can feel that movement, that deep movement. When it's deep, it tends to be slow, but it can also be very, very impactful. And what I found is that this week actually hasn't been about learning anything new. It's not been about learning anything new. It's actually, when I look back at the messages for the last week, one of the key messages has been that you can't unsee what you've seen. And you know, I tapped myself back a few years and that meant something a little bit different from what it means to me at the moment. But basically, once you are aware of a change, once you've actually reached a certain point in your spiritual development, there's no going back. You never go back to who you were. But see, it's not only just spiritual development, it's also in physical things, you know, and I spoke about it in my videos this last week. When we become a mother, and it doesn't matter whether you have empty arms or your arms are full, that moment of birth changes everything. The act of carrying the child for 9 months and then the moment of birth, and you hold that baby in your arms and you're a different person. You'll never, ever be the same person again. You know, puberty is another time. You know, these major milestones in a woman's life. And I guess men have them too, but I can't speak to men's milestones because I haven't experienced them myself. But they do have milestones. They have puberty, and they have becoming a father. They have getting their first job, becoming a breadwinner, getting married, becoming a provider. You know, there's all these points for men as well. But I tend to speak to the feminine because I've walked the path and I haven't walked the path of a man. Not in this lifetime. So where was I? Yes, the changes. Puberty is one. Once you start the process of puberty, you never go back to that prepubescent child again. We get a hint of it post-menopause when the hormones stop, after we've gone through that detox, which is very much like the DTs. Through menopause, on the other side of it, we have a hint of what it was like. But we've got all those years of experience. We can never go back again. And the hormones have had their effects on our bodies and our minds. So we're someone different. So there's these pivot points in our lives, these moments that change us forever. And once that change has happened, we can never go back to who we were. And losing someone we love deeply is one of them, whether that be a partner, a child, or a parent, or just a really close friend. Losing your best friend can be as impactful as losing a lover. Losing your job, retiring. That's another pivot point. You never go back to who you were. So once something has happened and you have seen this particular thing, a particular occurrence, you never go back. And I'm sort of like prevaricating on this a little bit. But the spiritual message here is we started with light, seeing clearly, being able to see our stories, our patterns, the things that we've been living inside, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and how we show up in the world and how we became who we are today. And we all have them. We all have those stories. And it's not so much the stories that can be the problem. It's how we attach our identity to them. And the next step from actually seeing the stories is that shift, that realization that you actually have a choice. You have a choice whether you live inside that story and allow that story to be a part of who you are today. Let it drive who you are today. Or whether you release the story and let it be a part of what made you who you are today, but not something that you attach any particular thing to. Now, this is so, I need to ground this. I need to ground this because it's too woo, really. I need to ground it. And I'm trying to think of an example that isn't necessarily a personal one. You had certain experiences as a child. They shaped who you are. You may have come from a childhood where you weren't seen. A lot of us grow up in the era of children are seen and not heard. And you may have grown up not being heard. And so you learned that your voice wasn't important. And then there comes a time in your life that the light shines on that story. And you realize that you have a choice. You can either stay living in that story, that you don't have a voice, that what you have to say is not important. Or you can choose to let the story go and realize that that's wounded, that is the protection of the wounded child. And you look at the story, you acknowledge it and say, this has been important in who I've become. Because that experience of feeling that I couldn't have a voice has shaped me. But I no longer, now that I see this pattern, see the pattern and how it's shown up in my life. I've stayed quiet, I've kept my voice quiet, I've not spoken my truth. I've not shared my reality with others. I've hushed myself while feeling that others were hushing me, but it was me hushing myself because of my fear of the reaction that I got as a child when I was not supposed to be heard. I wasn't allowed to be heard, okay? This is something a lot of us share in our age group because a lot of us grew up with that paradigm. Some people managed to escape it, but my parents were raised that way. And so they raised their children that way. And I know a lot of you are the same. So we get to that point that the light shines on that story and we realize, actually, that's something that I was told. So I was shown, demonstrated. But I don't have to let that drive who I am today. I no longer need to be in that place of being a victim, of saying I can't speak my truth because people are going to poke fun at me. Okay, let me give you an example. It is a personal example. Getting in front of the camera in front of you has been one of the biggest learning curves of my life, one of the biggest growth things, because I hate seeing pictures of myself. I hated it. I hated the sound of my voice. I hated the way I looked on camera. I'm better behind the camera, videoing other people, taking photos. It's something I love to do, but being in front of other people. And then people would come on my channel and say, "Oh, lovely moustache, my lady," because I hadn't noticed, because I don't look in the mirror. I hadn't noticed that these little hairs that I've had all my life had grown. And so I get subconscious about it. And I see it on a video, and some lights it shows and others it, and that's the thing. I'm outside in the daylight, it shows. When the light comes through there strongly, it shows. It depends on the light, how it catches the light. And that hurt me deeply. But why did it hurt me deeply? Oh, goodness me. I have to plug this thing in, which is how I know that you're here. It's going flat. I'm sorry. There we go. It's upside down, but I'll still be able to read. So when someone made that comment, it hurt. It hurt deeply. Because, I was the very hirsute child. And there's been other comments on my channel that have been deliberately provocative. But we have the choice. I have the choice. Do I let those stop me showing up in front of the camera for the people that get value from what I share? Or do I let them go as people who are just not listening to the heart message and just looking at what they see on the screen? That's my choice. I have the choice. And that's where we get that agency, that personal agency. I've gone down an ADHD rabbit hole. When you realize you have a choice, that's actually when it gets real. It gets real. Because in the new age thing, for the last, I don't know how many years, they've said, hello, welcome, say hello. They've said, you have a choice. You choose. The life you're living, you've got it because you chose it, right? This came out, I don't know, in the 80s, I think, possibly when Abraham started. And everyone started parroting this, you choose the life you live. And I felt it in my bones and I thought, well, okay, yeah, I can see we have a choice. But you don't have a choice until you know you have a choice. Let's see if I can make that flip the right way up. Once you know you have a choice, that's when you actually have a choice. But that moment when you know you have a choice, that's when you can make that choice, right? That's the true pivot moment. The light shines on, you realize that you have a choice, and then there's a decision. This is the moment of personal sovereignty or personal agency. Sovereignty is such a heavy word. Personal agency where we get to choose. Which stories do I keep? Which stories actually represent how I want to show up in the world? And which ones feel like a ball and chain that I'm dragging behind me my whole life? And once you realize that you have a choice, there's no blame and there's no shame. This is really, really important, because this is, I'm going to move because my foot's going silly. Because what we tend to do is then we tend to point the finger at ourselves and blame ourselves and shame ourselves, because haven't we all been shamed all our lives? Didn't our parents shame us? If that's been the way that, I'm trying to think of the right word, if that's the way that it's been demonstrated to you as shame, then that's what you're going to feel. You're going to feel ashamed that you made the wrong choice. There's no shame. There's no shame in making the wrong choice when you don't know you have a choice. And then once you do know you have a choice, there's still no shame. It's just a choice. Right? There's no shame. There's no blame. You choose. And that's where your personal agency comes in, because you choose. You realize you have a choice. You choose. It's not blame. It's not shame. It becomes responsibility. And responsibility is such a big thing in the next 2 years. Personal responsibility is going to be a really, really big thing. You can feel the energy starting to build around it now. So you got front row seats, the early birds to this energy. Responsibility, that personal responsibility of making your choices. And the real question then becomes what? What am I going to do with what I know now that I know? With what I now know, right? What am I going to do with what I now know? The choice. And I know that for some of you, this is where it became uncomfortable this week. Because when you're in that place of making a decision, what am I going to do with what I now know? Sometimes it's easier not to know. And that's the whole thing about having the light. The light, it's doing it again. The light shone onto those shadows. Is that once you actually see them, you got to do something about them. And that's not the easy part. Because sometimes those shadows are deep pools of regret. Sometimes they're deep caverns of pain. Sometimes they're stories of deep loss. But they don't have to drive who you are today. Pop in and say hello. I'd like to know who's here. Makes me feel more like I'm talking to somebody. Because once the light was shone and we realized we had a choice, at that point we crossed something quietly. It became a quiet but complete crossing a threshold. And I remember one of the messages, my guides actually showed me that it was like a door. We were standing in a doorway. And there came a point that we crossed across that threshold. We had the choice that we either step back into where we were in the shadows, or we step forward into this unknown place of light. And there's no going back. Once you've stepped through that threshold, you can't turn around and go back through the door. It closes behind you forever. You can't go back to who you were. that moment that you realize that you can't go back to who you were, can feel really strange and really disorienting. And as you're standing on that threshold contemplating it, that can be really difficult. It's like the time I took to prepare to cut my hair, knowing that once it was cut, there was no going back. I couldn't glue it back on again. Knowing that I was going to lose that beautiful long ponytail that came from down here, down to past my nipples. Those beautiful ringlets that would fall down either side of my face. Knowing that once I cut them off, they were gone. And they'd come back, but it would take time. And there was a hesitancy, there was pressure there. But I'd made a commitment that I was going to cut it, donate it for a wig, and raise the funds for child cancer. I couldn't go back on that promise. But it was still this pressure, right? And the reason I say this is it's the same pressure we feel as we stand in that threshold, knowing we're leaving behind, we're letting go of those old stories. You know, energetically, the whole planet is sitting on this threshold right now. This whole age of Aquarius thing. You know, which they've been talking about since, was it the 60s? When, I can't remember the name of the group anymore, actually sang the song. And I think for about 2 years they've been saying, we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And like, they're still saying we're moving into the age of Aquarius because these things take a long time, right? They're epics. They're not short periods of time. So we stand on the threshold, we have that choice, and it feels strange, it feels disorientating. Like your life hasn't caught up yet, but you have. You're at that point and you know you need to move forward, but your life hasn't got there yet. It's still trying to pull you backwards. Yeah. And then the messages went even deeper. And some of you might have felt that pull inward, that quiet inner knowing, that sense of something ancient stirring deep inside. And there's so much out there right now telling you what that is. I came across something the other day telling you what that ancient stuff is that's stirring inside. Oh man, did I go down a rabbit hole with that one. There's a lot out there, a lot of noise about what this feeling you're feeling inside is. But I want to bring you back. I want to gently bring you back. Because that feeling that you're feeling, it's not something calling you away from yourself. Everything that's out there is telling you to look outward and to buy this, get this, upgrade, you know, whatever, right? But this feeling is not asking you to go out there, it's asking you to come inwards. It's calling you to something within you that is now becoming accessible. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, do I call you, just call you Nana? Or do I call you Sabia? It's our old, ancient, wise one speaking. It's calling us back. It's our soul. It's becoming accessible. And you don't have to buy the latest crystalline 12-strand DNA upgrade. It's just going within. Listening to the quiet voice inside. your depth, your body, your truth, your own inner light. That's what's calling you. That's that feeling that you're feeling inside. And we tend, because of our stories, when we feel these shifts, we look outside to find out what they are. I've done this. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Let's look into what the collective's doing. Check out different people and find out, oh yeah, they're still handing my agency to somebody else. And I know it takes time to learn to truly trust your own inner voice. And this is where I want to say there is no guilt in crutches until you learn to walk on your own. That's actually tomorrow's message, so I won't go too deeply into that. Little tease for tomorrow's tomorrow's one. We'll go live in about 24 odd hours. And then after all of that, we hit the new moon. It's a new moon in Pisces, right at the very end of Pisces, just before it moved into Aries. And suddenly everything slowed down. We were asked to pause. We were asked to be still and go within. Take that breath and find your center and rest. And that came at a really pivotal moment for me, but I'll get into that soon. Everything just slowed down, the tiredness, the heaviness, that emotional release. And I find it really interesting that right when all those energies were most prevalent is when I had decided I would cut off this. But let me ask you something, because I haven't asked you any questions yet. Okay, sorry, I didn't realise you'd put another comment in there. Yes, I absolutely love it when we can just sit here together. I really look forward to my Saturday night lives, and I think that's really hilarious, Saturday Night Live with Mirren. So let me ask you, did you feel that sense of, I just can't keep carrying this anymore? That feeling that you had to let go of something, some things even, that it was time to let go. Because this wasn't a beginning. This is an ending. It's a clearing. It's like a sacred exhale. We've been given an opportunity to stop, rest, and exhale. And like I said in the last video that went up, I think, it's like when you're preparing for a marathon. Not that I've raced for myself, but I've watched my daughter prepare. She's run marathons. I watched her slowly increase her distance. Every week, she would increase her distance and the speed that she expected of herself over that distance. in the last week to 10 days before the big marathon, should do very little. Just like a basic little jog around the block. No pushing herself for times. No trying to do any great distance. So she drops right back to the lowest possible, keeping her fitness. The time of rest before the big push. And the day of the marathon comes and she's rested, she has the energy. And she can actually give it her best. And she gets a good time. She does the distance. And she feels good about her own personal best. So that's what this moment is like, this period of time we're in. It's that pause, being asked to pause. The blessing of the sacred pause, where we rest. We give ourselves space to recuperate. And now we're here. The equinox, the space between. It's a liminal space between worlds. It's like liminal spaces. Dawn and dusk are liminal spaces. The sun's no longer up at dusk. It has set below the horizon, but there is still light. It's not yet dark. In dawn, it's no longer dark, but the sun's not yet risen over the horizon. That's a liminal space. The moment of the equinox, where for a few days the sun stays in that central place. It's a pause. It's a natural pause before it starts to move again. The solstices are the same. In the winter solstice, it gets to its lowest point on the horizon, where it rises the least. It has the shortest arc. And for a few days, the sun stays at the same, and then it slowly starts rising further east and setting further west every day, till at the equinox it rises directly east and sets directly west. And then it goes in the other direction till the next solstice. And I am actually pointing pretty much where they come up and down here. So I live so far south, it's a big arc. So we're here now between the worlds at the equinox. The Pisces energy is dissolving. It's slowly just releasing all those energies, those deep, introspective energies, those water, the subconscious that's been rising, that intuition that's been getting sharper, starting to dissolve. And Aries is not quite here yet. And one of our people on the channel actually said that she follows the, I think it was sidereal, or is it the other one? Yeah, sidereal rather than tropical, where she actually looks at exactly where the planets are. And she said that Aries is a little bit further away than we think, according to that. So it's not quite here yet. That fire energy is not quite here yet. So it can feel like nothing is happening. It can feel like we're in this holding rhythm, this holding space, sitting in the waiting room, waiting for something to happen. That's not a comfortable place for us, especially if we're doing beings, A-type personalities, where we want to be in movement. This time of rest can feel really discombobulating. It can be very uncomfortable. It can feel like friction. Because it feels like nothing is happening. But something is. I've really struggled with that. I'm an A-type. So I really struggle when it feels like nothing is happening. It's taken me, till I'm this grey, to actually realise that something is happening underneath. It's like when you look at the ocean and it's calm and it's flat, and it looks like nothing is moving. The currents are still moving. The tide is still moving in and out. They're still moving. We just can't see it. And this is a moment that everything that's unnecessary is falling away. We spoke about that this week. It's so that what comes next doesn't have to carry the old stories. But it's also more than that. It's by allowing them to fall away now so that we don't have to carry them forward. We also make space for what is new. Because that's just as important. It's just as important to make that space. Because, you know, once the suitcase is full, you're going away on holiday. You put all the stuff in, but you haven't got the other stuff in yet. It's already full, you can't close it. You have to decide, what is it that I don't really need? You start taking things out, removing them, to make space for what you do need. Like you might have your suitcase full from a ski trip you did last winter, but now you're off to the tropics for your tropical summer holiday. You got to take all of that heavy ski gear out because you don't need that in the tropics. Okay, it's just an example for anyone who might actually be able to go skiing and then to the tropics. So that you're not carrying all that heavy baggage, right? You're not carrying your snowsuit to the beach. Or you're not taking your togs to the snow. Well, the snowsuit's a lot bigger and heavier, so that's a better example really, isn't it? But even those lighter things, those smaller things we don't have to carry, they still take up space. They take up space in our minds. They take up space in our hearts. They take up space in our energy field because they still have weight. Even it might only be a small weight, they still have weight. You're still carrying them. And I felt that myself this week, and I've already spoken about this. I cut my hair. And I am struggling with this new identity. It might seem like a really small thing to just like, you know, grab the scissors and snip off your locks. But it wasn't. For me, it was a letting go. It was a letting go of the identity of the woman that's been sitting in front of you with those long locks. It was the letting go of the weight of it. In fact, I didn't even realize how much weight there was in that hair. It doesn't feel like much when I hold it. But it felt like it on my head. And also of timelines that I'm not carrying forward with me from here. The timelines that I am leaving behind. And you have similar stories. This is what this week has been asking of all of us. And the question is, what are you ready to put down? What are you ready to cut off? To leave behind? What in your life is asking you to let it go? And I've got a little something here I wanted to say about that. Where is it? I put it in somewhere else. No, little notes. No, we'll just keep on going the way we're going. Sorry, I'm having a moment. So, if you've been feeling tired, emotional, a little bit lost, a bit quiet, or even a little bit noisier inside than usual. Because you know that we all experience these things slightly differently. You're not behind. And it's really important. I want you to know you're not behind. You're in the pause. Because we tend to beat ourselves up a lot about not being on time, about being in the wrong place, about not being in the right place at the right time for certain people, keeping people waiting, not being quite ready when we thought we were supposed to be, or when someone else expects us to be. If you're feeling those things, just take a deep breath into your belly. I'll lead again. Deep into your belly. Now let it go. I'm not behind. I'm in the pause. I'm giving myself the blessing of the sacred pause. This pause is sacred. I'm allowed to stop right now. It's okay for me to be still. I am okay. I am not selfish. Those that call me so are just feeling me pulling back from overgiving. I'm okay exactly as I am. And I no longer feel the need to justify myself to others. Thanks, team. This is a space where everything that wasn't true falls away. Everything, just like those things, just like the affirmations my team just brought through then. When you look at the flip side of those, I'm not going to say them out loud because we're not anchoring them now. But all those untrue stories that other people have told us, that we've allowed, that we've taken on as our own stories. This is a time that we can let them go. Just allow them to fall away. Shed them like the trees shed the leaves and fall. Just release them. You know, it's interesting when you actually watch this. They showed me the picture of a tree in autumn, you call it fall in the States. And they do slow-mos on it over a long period of time. The time lapse is what it is. And you actually watch the tree and the leaves start to fall. And then it gets to the point where there's a few leaves left. And in these time lapse, you actually see this tree shake to release the last few leaves. And like, we don't actually see that with our eyes. But when you watch those time lapses, you can see it. The tree stands there and it moves a little bit this way and a little bit that way. But it comes a point when almost all the leaves are gone that it just does this little shake to lose the last few leaves. And that's where we are now. We're dropping all those old leaves that we don't need anymore. The trees show us how to do it. Rumi has a little, and I can't remember exactly what the quote is, but Rumi has a quote about how in the autumn the trees know it's time to lose their leaves. and how it's a normal cycle of life. Because if the trees don't shake those leaves off, when spring comes, and you are now in spring in the Northern Hemisphere, those fresh buds can't grow unless the leaves have dropped and made space for them. That blowy is really annoying me. If we don't shake off the old and create the space, the new has nowhere to grow. And this is beautiful right now because you're in spring. And the trees are having these little wee green buds. Some of them are becoming flowers. It's just about to open up into beautiful blossoms. And others are the new leaves growing. In some places you may already have almost full leaf trees by now. But in some areas it's just that first sign of growth. And to me, spring has always been that period of hope. It's like, yes, hope that life returns. So now I want to share something with you briefly. You might have noticed I'm not posting every day anymore. I'm not posting twice a day anymore. And I want to be really clear about why. It's been a really difficult decision for me because I did not want you to feel like I'd abandoned you. And I felt a really great responsibility for those morning messages, those morning daily sacred soul messages, to start your day sovereign. So you can wake up in the morning and have this message to start your day, to set you up for the day in a place of feeling sovereign, feeling like you have agency over your life, giving you those little skills. I guess it's kind of like the spiritual equivalent of a daily Bible verse. I want you to know it's not me pulling back. I've started putting them in the community posts instead. It's me adapting because the way that YouTube is working right now has changed. And posting that frequency, putting 2 videos up a day, was burying the work. YouTube wasn't showing it to as many people. No longer the number of subscribers. Like I have 1,000 subscribers, but only 100 of you will see my videos. Or it might be 300 people will see my videos. I'm not sure what the budget is. But if I put out 2 videos in a day, then 300 of you, the 2 videos are spread over that 300. And I don't get 300 possible people to see the videos each. It's over both. So I have a choice. I have a choice. I either keep pushing, I keep with my 10-hour days, putting out 2 videos a day, and watch my channel slowly disappear because YouTube keeps showing it to less and less people, or I move with the change. So I'm choosing to move with it. As difficult as it is for me to accept change, it takes me time to adapt to a new rhythm. But I've decided to create fewer pieces of work, but deeper ones. You still get the daily devotional, but it's as a post in the community posts. So if you're missing those, pop into the community posts. They're there. with the usual call to type your intention in the comments, and I can come and I can anchor it still. It's just I'm not showing up with my voice, it's just written. And I've decided to pivot to the evenings, so at 9 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. You get an evening video that you can sit with and go deeper with. I've decided to take the evening wind down to help you go to sleep out of that, and once a fortnight actually just do a specific wind down video. Exactly how that's going to look, I don't know yet, but it'll just be a video that just winds you down to sleep. But I'm also creating the evening videos in such a way that I keep my voice calm and quiet so it can still put you to sleep. I just won't breathe you down into sleep. So these are more intentional and more aligned, rather than being every day, which I did for 15 months. I did a video every single morning for 15 months. And just over a month ago, I decided to do one in the morning and one at night. And I noticed the evening one, actually, more people saw it because you have more time in the evening. So that's why it shifted to evening after 15 months being in the morning. More intentional, more aligned, and to trust that the right people will find them. And I'm sharing that with you not as a poor me. This is not a poor me. It's not who I am, but as an example, because this is what we've been talking about all week. And even all the way through this almost an hour live right now. Seeing clearly and then choosing differently. Even when it's not comfortable. And sometimes that's the key, because when it's not comfortable, it's a little bit harder. It's a bit harder to make the change when it's not comfortable. And so when you can make the change, please share it with me. If you do something, you make the change, you let something go, you leave it behind. Share it with us on the channel so we can celebrate with you. Because like I said in yesterday's post about cutting my hair, to me you're all heroes, heroines. Because if you're watching my channel, if you're absorbing what I'm putting out, then you are one of the few people that are actively growing, wanting to grow, wanting that relationship with your soul. And I thank you. I thank you for that. And yeah, this is the work that I hold space for. I don't believe in giving you answers. I didn't even raise my children that way. I don't believe in giving you something to depend on. I don't ever intend to be a crutch, something you lean on for the rest of your life. I'm here to help you come back to yourself, to find your own agency, so that one day you don't need me. It's exactly how I raise my children. That's how I work. And the people that come with me and do work with me one-on-one, My goal is to give them the tools that they never have to come back to me again. It takes a few sessions. But my goal is to have it so that you get to the point that you don't need me anymore. Because you know in here, this is where you get your knowing from. Not out there, not from me, not from anybody else. So that you can hold your own body, your own emotions, and your own life. This is not something that was ever mirrored to us as children, for most of us. And yet that's my goal here. The whole reason that I've been showing up every day for 15 months. The whole reason for this channel, Return to Body. It's twofold meaning. It's about returning to yourself and allowing your soul to return to your body. So if that resonates, you're always welcome into that deeper space with me. And quietly, this is not a pressure. I don't come from a place of pressure ever. Just a quiet invitation. So let's just take a quiet breath together before we close. And I did it on my own without leading you. I'm sorry. Let's breathe in. And out. You don't need to figure anything out tonight. You don't need to rush into what's next. Just let yourself be here. Not here, but here where you are. Now. This now moment, this present moment, this breath. This moment in time. And as a closing note, I want to say that you haven't lost yourself this week, even if you feel you have. You're shedding what you were never meant to carry. And sometimes that's an uncomfortable thing. And it's okay to feel that it's hard. And for a part of you to want to hold on to it a little bit longer. But I promise you, the moment that you let it go, you'll feel this most amazing feeling of release. Like in one of my videos, I've spoken about, in a couple of the videos I've spoken about the moment that I let my daughter go. Been holding on to her a year. She died during labour. I held on to her for a year. Holding on to that, I'm a mother with empty arms thing. Holding on to the story that I was a victim of something that had happened to me. And on the anniversary, she came and she said to me, "Mum, you have to let me go." I was terrified of letting her go because I was terrified of what that space would feel like without her in it. But I did. I let her go, and suddenly there was this huge, empty cavern inside me. And almost instantly it was filled with a feeling of joy and bliss that I cannot describe. as that hole that had been me holding on to being a victim was filled with love. It does happen when we let go of those things that hold us back, that tie us to a story that stops us being able to have our own agency. Everything changes. You may not feel it as instantly as I did in that time, because there's been other times it hasn't been as instantaneous, that it hasn't been as profound and obvious. But when we let it go, when we shed that which we were never meant to carry, and we realize that what's coming next doesn't need to be forced, we can just be in that place of allowance. That moment of no longer feeling we need to control the outcome. I am glad you're here. Thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here on the channel. You know, my channel would not be what it is without each one of you bringing your own energy. Those of you that comment, those of you that engage in the comments. You make this place what it is. This channel is not only me. This channel is all of us. Everybody who watches a video silently watches and never says a word. For the ones that quietly comment on every single video. For the ones that bring in little pearls of wisdom of their own that enriches the experience for everybody. Every single one of you is important here. And I thank you. Thank you for honouring this space with your energy and for giving me your time. Because some of you have been here for an hour. And I thank you for that. I thank you. For most of you, it's bedtime. So I'll say good night. For those of you who are in daytime, may you have a beautiful, blessed day. Sleep well. Yes. Thank you. I still don't know. I'm calling you Sabia. I hope that's okay. Yes, the truth oftentimes only exists as a ghost inside the soul. But when we make space for it, that ghost can become more real. But it can't until we make space for it. And we're heading into a time that if we think that it's been busy, the world's been busy and chaotic. My guide, as she said the other day in a video, I was actually recording a video. They said, "You ain't seen nothing yet, baby." The song. Oh, wow. Okay, you haven't seen anything yet. That's why these messages are coming through so strongly. Center, ground. Find your inner calm. Because this is what's going to help you get through what's coming. The massive change. It's 3 years in 3 years, we won't really recognise. That's what they're saying. In 3 years, we won't recognise it. Just like we look back at that period from 2020 to the end of 2023, that 3-year period, the world changed. It was no longer recognisable as what it was. We're going through another one. It's a different pivot, but we're going through another one. In 3 years, we won't recognise our lives the same. And our choice, we can't control what happens. Our choice is how we hold on to our inner agency, how we find that quiet place within, the message that came with the snow chords, that quiet hush, that peace within. It doesn't matter what's raging outside, because when you're in the middle of a snowstorm, it's silent. There's lots of movement, but it's quiet. And we can learn to find that place in ourselves. Thank you. Bless you all. Thank you for being the first ones to see my crazy haircut. I love you all. You're all so important. You're all heroes to me, heroines. And I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time will be when the next video drops. It's hard for me to say goodbye. I have to do it. I have to hang up now. Do you remember that? I've got to go. I've got to hang up now. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. Anyway, I'm going. I love you all. Thank you. Blessed be. Shalom. Until next time.